Hey guys, Coach Lucas here. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of development over winning. And so I find that a lot of clubs, a lot of teams overemphasize the importance of winning, especially at the younger ages. And this really stifles development. It holds players back from developing at the pace, at the rate that is going to allow them to accomplish their long term goals. And so, number one, it's important to understand that if your players can lose matches and still play really, really well. And if you're overemphasizing the importance of winning, you're not going to recognize the small wins that occurred from that match. And so players and teams can play the best they've ever played and still lose matches. And if you're not in tune with how the small components in which they're winning and improving, then and you're overemphasizing the overall result, you're not going to pick up on these small development components that are really, really important for players to recognize as they're growing and developing and becoming the player that they need to become to accomplish their long-term goals. Number two, it's important to understand that mistakes, coaches should be encouraging players to make mistakes. I see so many players that are hesitant to take risks. They don't have the courage to go out and play and take risks, and they're so worried about mistakes because their coach is either going to yell at them or bench them, and this is holding them back from being able to try new things on the pitch, from being able to take risks and learn how to play the game the best way that they can. Learn how to express themselves freely on the pitch. This type of courage, this type of bravery is where players learn how to become persistent. This is where they learn how to make mistakes and then bang, all of a sudden get back and re-engage and re-get back into the play in the best way possible. And this is what the best players do on a consistent basis. If you look at the pro level, there's mistakes that happen all the time, but it's the players that respond the quickest and respond and re-engage in the best way that are going to put themselves and their team in the best position possible to win that particular match. So this is critical. Number three, I encourage coaches, and if the coaches aren't going to do this, I encourage players to adopt this concept called games within games. And what this is having some sort of game within the game itself, having some sort of mini challenge within the full game itself, so that no matter what happens in the end result, whether you win, whether you lose, your player is still going to have some sort of key agenda, some sort of challenge or game within the game that they're focusing on to determine their progress and their success. So, for example, if they're focused on creating X amount of chances on goal in the first half, the parents can keep a tally of this or coaches can keep a tally of this, and you can then benchmark your progress, your development, and not have to overly emphasize your progress on the end result. Like I said earlier, players can have really, really good matches and still lose the end result. So if they don't have this games within games and they're only judging their performance by the end result, they could be misjudging themselves, and that's not good. You should be looking at the small wins, the small breakthroughs, the small things that your player's improving on to have them focus on the right things. Number four, players need to learn how to handle losses. And if you're overemphasizing winning over development, players aren't going to learn how to handle these types of losses. And if you look at the pro level, the college level, teams lose all the time. Teams and players lose all the time. What I have found is that the best players learn how to process these losses and have a system in place to process these losses so that they can flush out that negative emotion that comes from losses and get their mind back on track towards moving forwards. The teams and The players that learn how to process these losses the best are the ones that respond the best, and they're the ones that can adapt the best. And that's really key when it comes to playing at the top level. And then finally, this is something that I'm sure you already understand, but most learning and development comes from losing. It doesn't come from winning. It's the losing that helps you understand where you went wrong and how to fix it. And this goes back to what I was just saying about adapting and adjusting. And this is where the growth comes from. So if you can focus on some of these key areas rather than overemphasizing winning all the time, this is going to allow your players and your teams to grow and develop at a rate that is going to help them achieve their long-term goals. So I wanted to share that with you today. I hope you found value in that, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.